Hello and welcome to Hobby Homies. We are your weekly war game and board game podcast. Also tabletop game. I keep saying that.
Yeah.
I don't know why I've gone back to like season 2.
I don't
Anyway.
know. I like the throwback, dude. Roll with it. Tabletop
It's only
games,
a throwback.
board games. What was the other one?
But it's only a throwback the first time. The second time it's like you're just getting it wrong.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
we are your
yeah.
we are your weekly tabletop podcast. I am Shane, as always, hanging out with Fox.
Howdy, my friends. Welcome to us, to you, to me, to everyone.
Yep. Today, we are going to talk about some old school war games.
I know for a fact that you love this shit as much as I do. We're talking about just like games that existed before we even knew wargaming was really a thing.
Yep.
Things, and in fact, we've picked 2 games each. All of them, none of them are from the last 2 decades.
Yeah.
All released
nearly 3 decades, actually.
Almost
so it's pretty
before both of us were born. Almost.
Nearly. Yep.
Yeah. So
some of them well before our parents were born.
Wow. That's true. Anyway, we're going to be talking about those games. So without further ado, I want to get into my first one. I'm excited, dude.
Hit it.
I've been pumped for this all week because I find this so interesting. The first game especially. Because this bish, she's historical.
Okay. And historical as in like World War II?
Yeah, but also historical in terms of like the wargaming that we know today was built off this game.
Hell yeah.
So this game is called Tactics.
Yep.
It was made in 1954 originally. So it's a board war game that is said to be the birth of modern wargaming for the commercial market.
Nice.
Yeah. It's widely believed to be the first commercially successful printed war game.
Yep.
Which at the time was unique for war games because it was self-contained. So it was the first one that didn't require like miniatures or building a map. The first war game to do that.
Okay,
yeah.
So you buy a box, and in that box is everything you need to play this game.
Exactly. And for a war game at the time, that was unheard of. So at least in the commercial market, like people do whatever they want in their basements. You know what I'm saying?
Of course. Yeah.
So Tactics, the game itself is played on like a large gridded board. Like there's two maps and it's just a big square grid across it. And it's a very, by today's standard, primitive war game. So super standard, like each player starts with an army on each side of the map. Armies are made up of almost like a detachment in 40k speak.
Mm-hmm.
So you got your first infantry corps, your second infantry corps, your third infantry corps, etc. And each of those is made up of X, Y, Z, B, A, T, A, B, C.
Now you're just naming letters. Good work, dude.
Thank you. But obviously it's balanced, so both sides have it, because this was actually described as a war game for chess players. Yeah. So the original version, made in 1954, had no dice, no spinners, no luck involved.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah, which was also, again, pretty interesting for a war game especially.
Yeah.
It sort of balanced this with what they called a combat results table that somehow eliminated luck. Like I've seen combat results tables many a times. In fact, the old school 7th edition 40k strength versus toughness is a combat results table. You know, you compare this number to this number. This is the result you need. I'm aware of those. I just don't know. This one, you compared basically the unit that was attacking versus the unit that was defending. And then on you met it on the y-axis and the z-axis or whatever. And it would say either fully eliminated or ran away or whatever. So all the information about this game was known. Your army, you knew what they had because this was the same as yours. You could see them on the map. The little tokens, it was all done on like little square cardboard tokens. Those were the units. And they perfectly fit in a grid and you would move them around. So that was another part of it, is like the movement was pretty standard. You moved your dudes X amount of spaces on the grid. If you moved over terrain, it cost you more, so you moved less type thing. what was interesting about this game is not the gameplay. The gameplay kind of, I mean, it sucks comparative to today. You can still play this game and it's fun.
You can still get it.
Well, we'll get into that. So,
okay, yeah.
Wait, let me take a sip because there's a lot to unpack here for this game.
No doubt whatsoever.
So, it was actually created by an infantry officer called Charles S. Roberts.
Yep.
And he created it for his own strategic instruction.
Okay.
Now, he self-published this game under his company, the Avalon Game Company. And he sold...
Avalon.
Yeah, the Avalon Game Company. Let that name simmer with you, sure.
Yep.
And he
rings a bell.
Yeah, it will. It will.
Yeah.
And he sold over 2,000 copies over the next 6 years. So he was literally just chilling in his house making this game, mailing out this copy to anyone that bought it.
Sounds like early Gygax and D&D. Basically,
it?
all over the dining room table. The missus is screaming at you, saying, "Will you just pack your shit up?"
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "No. This is gonna make us retire."
Yeah. Now, they say he barely broke even on this first iteration of the game.
Sounds like Gygax.
Exactly. He sold 2,000 copies over the next 6 years, it said. So I was working that out. I'm not a mathematician, but I don't know how many that is a year. There's like
at least 7.
Yeah, it's at least 7 a year. It's like one a day. I thought that's pretty good, right?
I mean, yeah, but if you're selling them for $25 a pop,
yeah, that's
just $25 a day.
Yeah, and it costs you $20 to make. Then
exactly.
Fair.
And $5 postage.
Yeah. And this is back then, so it's probably like $50 postage by horse. So in 1958, Charles renamed his company due to a dispute with another company to Avalon Hill, and then printed second edition of Tactics, aptly named Tactics 2.
Of course.
Fun fact, the name Avalon Hill came about because Charles' house in the Avalon neighborhood was on a hill. And that's where the company was born. So
I think he's just gloating.
Yeah, I'm on a hill. Maybe that's all you could gloat about in 1958. You've got the post-war, economy, and you're just like, well, I'm on a hill. Yeah. I mail a copy a day and I'm on a hill. So you will have heard of it. Avalon Hill is a well-known wargaming company. Yeah. And Tactics was the game that launched it. Now, I knew none of this. When I picked Tactics, I picked it because I just went, what was the first war game? And then Tactics jumps out as the first,
modern war game.
Yeah, self-contained board war game. So I was like, that's interesting. I'm going to do that. I'm going to talk about that. And then the more I read about it, the more fascinated I was. Sorry, I just died there for a second.
Okay.
So, I mean, especially because I'm aware of Avalon Hill, and to find out that this game I picked was actually the game that created Avalon Hill, the company. Yep. Anyways, so Avalon Hill itself has a fascinating and rich history that warrants more time than I can give it here, because this isn't a deep dive.
No.
This is just, we found a couple games that we thought were super interesting.
Yeah, maybe that's a thing for the old down the track.
Maybe I'll put the goggles on one day and jump in the big pool of Avalon Hill. Who knows? It's fascinating because the game itself, when I was reading through, I actually watched how to play Tactics 2, which sort of brought in dice again and some other more modern concepts. Even though it itself was only made in, oh man, I whiffed on this one, 1970 something.
Okay. Oh wow. So it's still a little while after the first edition.
Well, sorry. Yeah. In 1958, they brought out Tactics 2. But the version that we buy now is probably the 25-year reprint in 19...
so it's gone through a few editions.
It has. And you can still get those. I'm not sure if you can still get the 1958 copy of Tactics 2. I don't know. They're not different, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, you can still snag this and play it. It's available. I think I saw there's a copy of the very original Tactics from 1954 for only $250, which I thought, for something so historical, that means so much to wargaming, for the price of a Games Workshop boxed game, not bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's the trouble is though, it's the value. Like sure, there's a lot of history there, but who is it valuable to? It's not like the Declaration of Independence or like Ned Kelly's helmet or something, you know. So
Yeah.
$250 sounds like a bargain for something, a big piece of history, but like it's like people are gonna have to want to pay it, right?
Yeah, I bought it.
Oh, you okay?
No,
Express
Tactics.
Post from
Yeah.
Where is he from? Like that. What was his name? Robert S.
Charles S. Roberts.
Charles S. Roberts. That's such like a. Just comes like the first thing I think of is like a Southern American like corporal or colonel or something from like the
Charles S. Roberts. I can't do it.
Exactly.
I was trying to remember what Southern sounded like at the same time as attempting Southern.
Of course.
I think there's no better time than the sun setting on a beautiful summer's day. Is that Southern? I can't remember.
Pretty
Anyways,
close.
Whatever. Thank you.
Yeah.
If you pay me, maybe I can buy Tactics the first edition. So now Avalon Hill was sold to Hasbro in 1998.
Of course.
Now, I was watching American Dad today, and there was a funny moment where this is after doing the write-up for this and researching this game. And there's a scene where the fish in American Dad, he was like, oh no, my family's been taken over by a board game. Damn you, Hasbro. And I was like, man, if this was a high production podcast, I could put that in here. Yeah. But anyways, it's not. So Avalon Hill was sold to Hasbro in 1998, which effectively killed everything it once was, as Hasbro immediately laid off every single staff member in the purchase.
Oh.
Yeah.
What? They just bought them all and then said, sorry.
Later,
See you later.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Fuck, that's brutal.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, there was some change of command and things. Like I said, there's a huge history. I won't get into it. These are like the bullet points. So Hasbro later transferred control of Avalon Hill to one of its subsidiary companies called Wizards of the Coast in 2004.
Yep.
Now
we're Wizards.
Now we're getting some names.
Yeah.
Hasbro and Wizards. Yeah. It was at this time that Hasbro, or Wizards of the Coast, reprinted some of its old games with the Avalon Hill branding. Now that's marketing. Yeah. So it's like Avalon Hill is a historical, well-respected wargaming brand. Yeah. So they did things like slapped that branding on Axis and Allies.
Oh, yeah. Put this sticker on there. Everyone's buying it.
Yeah. Now, Axis and Allies was not originally made by Avalon Hill, but now if you go, where is my Axis and Allies? It's in this room somewhere, and it will say Avalon Hill on it.
Blair's got it.
Yeah. Oh, he might.
I don't know.
Yeah, he might. In January 2021, so January of last year, Hasbro took control of Avalon Hill back from Wizards.
Yeah. And
that's sort of where we're at today.
Cool.
It's a corporate shell of what it once was. But some of the Gettysburg, so Avalon Hill, before it was Hasbro, made Gettysburg, which was actually the first war game that was also a real historic event.
Yeah.
So even that was amazing because it's like, wow, I mean, everyone does that, right?
Yeah.
Every campaign is based on an actual event for a game or whatever, but that was the first one. So
nice.
Some quick little tidbits. Charles S. Roberts is actually today considered the grandfather of wargaming.
Okay.
There's actually an annual award named after him, which is awesome. It's called the Charles S. Roberts Award.
Of course.
Yeah. And it's given to those who have achieved excellence in historical wargaming. So it's quite an honor for him because the award was originally called the Origins Award. Mm-hmm. But because of all the stuff, all the amazing contributions he had done, a lot of people just began informally calling it the Charles S. Roberts Award because he was sort of like the embodiment of the type of person they wanted to give it to.
Yeah.
So later he eventually said, okay, fine, you can name your award after me and make me immortal. That's fine. So
he loved every minute of that.
Oh, for sure. So that's interesting. I looked up some of the winners of the Charles S. Roberts Award, and very cool.
Yep.
So that's Tactics, the very first in 1954, mind you.
Yeah. Yep.
And although it is that old, almost 70 years old. Yeah. couple of years away from being 70.
Yep.
Even closer, 69.
Nice.
Yeah, it looks like you could still play it. Like I was watching
Yeah.
it and I was like, there's no, the replayability just comes from the fact that it is effectively a war game chess.
Okay, yeah.
So you're playing to best your opponent, and that's purely it. That's, there's no variation apart from the different tactics you try.
Mm-hmm.
But the game itself, it has supply lines. And so, like, you can cut off people's supply. It was very cool.
Yeah,
very cool.
yeah. I love when they add elements like that to it.
Yeah.
It just brings the game to a whole next level. Like, sure, you can just kill each other, or you can hold, this part of the battlefield for longer than they do. But if you can, like, cut off their supply lines and interrupt with their logistics, like, that's real warfare.
Exactly.
You know? So it's not just shoot each other until one of you is dead.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was very cool, and it had a lot more features than I'm relaying, because by today's standards, like I said, it's all pretty like, you're like, of course it has. That's a war game. That's by default, but it's by default because of this game. So
absolutely, yeah, yep. So, nice, dude. Nice.
That's my little tactics. You told me the names of your two games. I know zero about them except for one of their hilarious names.
Now, all sexual innuendos aside,
okay.
My first game is called Full Thrust.
Excellent. Now,
Full Thrust.
Thrust.
Continue.
I don't want to, because what you've served to me is an open platter of delicious puns and jokes, and it would be rude not to take one. But
that's right.
I'm on a diet, so I'm going to leave it where it is.
Okay.
And I want you to tell me everything.
I'm deeply offended,
about.
but I accept your I accept your wishes.
I want you to tell me everything you, Shane, know about Full Thrust.
Okay, so this game was hard. I found a little bit of information, but it was difficult. It took some digging.
Yeah.
It was originally released in 1991, and its second edition was released as a core rule book in 92. It's had multiple expansions and books added right through up until 2008, but it's currently sitting in like a version 2.5 kind of limbo. Like, it's an unofficial version. It's just had all these, like, I say all these, it's probably like 4, but these books like Fleet books and Xenos Alien books. But essentially what it is, it's a space combat game. So spaceships. It uses a D6 system for all combat resolutions, as we are quite familiar with.
Yep.
A standardization unit of measurement. So instead of using a tape measure for inches, it has movement units. So you can use those movement units as either inches, centimeters, or hexes, and you can go on a scale. So you can have obviously being a centimeter movement, it's a lot smaller, so you go on a small scale battle. But you know what? I'd love to see that played as one movement unit was a meter or a foot, and play it on like a fucking footy field or something like that.
That'd be nutty.
You know? Just
nutty.
imagine like just at the park, at the Oval, and you're like pushing these like ships around that are like, I don't know, like 2 foot long.
Yeah.
It'd be sick.
That would be very cool.
Yeah.
Especially at like the outdoor, like a field next to a convention center, everyone brings their massive, massive ships.
Yeah.
We were looking at some huge 3D printed ships for 5 parsecs, ones that have like multiple levels with like your crew.
Yeah.
Bring those massive ships, and everyone just sort of controls their one ship.
Yeah.
And like maybe one movement is like one literal step.
Yeah, or you can use one of those like the sticks with the wheel on the bottom that clicks every meter, and you can like click out, you're like 4 meters of movement or whatever.
Can you imagine like 50 people on the field with those little clicker things? It's like, all right, everyone, movement step, and it's just like cicadas just echoing through a forest. It's like 50 people all moving their shit.
Yeah.
Oh man,
brilliant.
That'd be amazing.
Brilliant.
Make that happen.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we'll do
it. That's a hobby hammer's guarantee. That's happening.
You better believe it. It's a turn-based war game, so that's no familiar. But this one here, you write down your movement in secret, and then you sort of you apply that simultaneously or like alternative with your opponent, which I thought was really cool because like pre-measuring and all that sort of stuff. Like you write down where your ships are going. Now, I saw a flaw in this because I was like, well, how do you exactly know where it's going to go? Like you write down like, are you going, I'm going 6 movement units northwest.
Yeah.
Like how do you get exactly where you want to go? You are quite limited to, maybe you can print up like a base around which has like notches on it, and then each notch is a different direction. But I don't know how that would play. But and then combat broken down into multiple phases like missile movement, fighter attacks, direct fire weapons, and more.
What would you say the complexity of this game is? Because it's sounding, reasonably complex. Did it sound like that? Is it the vibe you got, or?
Yeah, to an extent. Now, I actually managed to find where you can get this for free legally.
Yeah, awesome.
You can actually download the rules not only for full thrust, but you can also get full thrust light, which I'm actually going to look into because full thrust sounded good.
Yep.
So full thrust light, I don't know, like a little.
Is it just a quicker version of full thrust?
I guess it's just a bit of a quickie, I suppose.
That's fine. Not everyone can full thrust for the full length. Sometimes you just need to get a quicker version of that.
Sometimes you just run out of thrust.
Yeah, you just got a couple thrusts in you. Maybe you don't have hours to be thrusting. So that sounds like a good option for a lot of people.
And that's available on their publisher's website, which is Ground Zero Games. Check that out. But they've also got a dirt side. It's called Dirt Side 2 for planetary battles, which is your standard sort of troops and tanks and all that sort of stuff, like a Warhammer-esque game, I suppose. And you've also got Star Grunt 2, which is like a skirmish version. So this one game, and it's all available for free on Ground Zero Games. It goes from scale, like Kill Team, to your full scale battles, like Warhammer, and then into space combat, which I think is just everything. It's exactly what we imagined for Armada, but in a space sort of arena.
That's Kings of War Armada. That's
right, Kings of War Armada. Yep.
Or what's the company? Sorry, Mantic Games.
Mantic Games. Yep.
Not Star Wars Armada. Although Legion, X-Wing, Armada, there's the same possibilities there. So it's not the same cost.
Yeah. So
now,
goddamn remote recording. Before we started researching, we sort of looked at these different points we wanted to build our games around. One of them that you wrote was why it died or what it looks like today. I loved that point because it really makes you think about has this game just vanished off the face of the earth, or has it or has it evolved into something completely different today? And this one is kind of funny because it hasn't exactly died, right? It's sitting in version 2.5. The most recent thing released in 2008, which isn't that long ago.
When I graduated high school.
It's like 15 years ago.
But in terms of wargaming, again, in terms of my game tactics, 1954, not that long ago.
That's recent. That's pretty recent.
21st century,
So this looks like it's a sort of like a cult favorite in the UK, right? Like it's like one of those games where it's like a niche group that just froth it. To have developed this 2.5 thing, which is sort of official and unofficial, but they're looking at possibly a version 3.0, which they don't know when it's going to get released, but who knows, man? It still could be kicking. Not quite dead yet.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. And it's not unheard of. Like, it happens a lot where, look at Blood Bowl. I think, we don't know Blood Bowl as well as like the TCG lads or the real Blood Bowl fanatics that just like live and breathe it. But I believe it had a point where it kind of like died and was just held up by the community.
Yeah.
And they had community
Necromunda
rules.
too.
Yeah.
Necromunda did the same thing. Kill Team did the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's like they go through these phases where they just almost get forgotten about, and then someone goes, "Hey, do you remember that thing we used to fucking do?"
Yeah.
And then they go, "Oh yeah, Yeah, it was.
That's pretty good.
Blow the dust off this fucking thing.
I wonder if anyone else still plays this. And then you go online and there's like massive Facebook fan following pages.
Oh
and
yeah.
there's community rules and stuff. And then the actual company goes, oh, well, what if every second one of these bought our actual new version of the game?
Yeah,
we make a bit of money.
Make some money. It's like, so we were the only ones that forgot about this.
Yeah. Actually, we missed the we missed the boat on this one.
Yeah.
It's happening a little bit on a complete side note. There was a Halo miniatures game. I forget what it was called. Anyways, I recently went looking for a Halo miniatures game, and I saw that the official one they'd made a while ago, died, and the fans are constantly just like putting the deflibs on it, and and still playing it. And I felt like the company made a statement, saying kind of like, we see you kind of thing. So,
yeah. You know what, man? I'd love to paint some grunts.
Oh, bro.
Or some fucking jackals. Oh, that'd be sick.
Man, they used to have a HeroClix one, and I bought so many grunts. So many grunts. I never played the game. And I felt like when I moved into my last house, I found one. And now, who knows? But I feel that. Warthogs, ghosts. Anyways.
Oh,
that's not what we're here about. That's not what we're here for. That's some modern shit.
Don't get me excited, dude.
Yeah.
Before we kick in. Yeah.
I was going to say, mess up the shot because your whole table will lift up and the camera will.
Exactly. Before we get stuck into your game too.
Yeah.
You guys watching on YouTube, listening audio, if you could just click the buttons, the like and the subscribe and the follow buttons, that'd be sick, because that really helps us know what kind of content you guys like.
Yeah.
And grow as a channel.
It all paints a picture of the content that you guys want to digest. If you like, if some videos get more likes, we're like, all right, they're like the deep dive kind of style or whatever, battle reports, or they're like lore.
Yep.
And when we see subs on certain videos, we're like, oh, okay, they've liked that enough to sub. So it helps us plan what kind of, because we'll talk anything hobby related. We froth it all.
Oh yeah. And subs are so important, like as far as us growing a channel. It might not seem like much for you just to click that one button, but it really adds up, and like it helps us grow and get exposed to more listeners, and develop more and more, and then get sort of more things to cover. So if you're liking it, click that button. That'd be amazing.
And if there's no buttons for you to click because you're like listening audibly, just
you can click follow.
Yeah. Follow, write a comment, join our Facebook, or just give us a small nod of approval. Yeah. We appreciate that. We don't see it, but we know you're doing it.
No, we feel it.
I feel it. Oh,
we feel it.
I think someone just did it. Do you feel it?
Yeah, another one?
Oh, it's gone off.
This is a 2-nod day. This is a good day.
Yeah. We might keep this podcast going, I reckon.
Not today, old friend.
Yeah.
You seen that Simpsons episode? Yeah.
No.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was like, what do we say to death? Not today.
It's Mo talking to a noose.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, speaking of
your game
nooses,
too.
Yeah. Anyone that has played my game wants to put themselves in a noose. So my second game is called The Campaign for North Africa.
Okay.
The desert. I'm not done with the name.
I
just took a breath. It's called The Campaign for North Africa, The Desert War, 1940 to 1943. I'm not done, dude.
So it's a 2-sentence name.
Yeah. It's The Campaign for North Africa, The Desert War, 1940 to 1943. Don't let the name fool you. It was actually released in 1979.
But that's not where the campaign was.
Correct. Yeah, correct. So the name really tells you a lot. It's actually very poetic about the game because it's excruciatingly detailed and it's very long.
Just like the name. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So this game, this fascinates me, this game. So I'm going to talk a little bit less about the history on this one and more about the gameplay because that's where the detail is. So it describes itself as a meticulously detailed war simulation that takes more than 40 days of playtime.
Wow.
Now, I chose this game because I actually saw it on an episode of Big Bang Theory.
I thought that's where I saw it from.
Yep. And a lot of people probably have, if not,
Mm-hmm.
there's the main character, well, one of the main characters, Sheldon, sets it up in one of the other characters' house all over the living room, on the floor, it's massive.
Yeah.
The map itself is huge. And he explains that it's the most complicated game ever and will take 5 to 8 weeks to finish.
Yeah.
And he was explaining sort of like all the mechanics to it and whatnot. And I just remember sitting there thinking, my God, that sounds incredible.
Now, I get triggered by Big Bang because they elaborate so much on some things, right? Like,
okay,
I used to be a big World of Warcraft fan.
Yeah.
And one of the episodes about World of Warcraft, they said something about characters having sex with each other. And I was like, that only happens on one server, and it's an RP server. And you can't actually have sex with each other. Because my fiance Caitlin was watching it, and she usually used to play, and she like,
oh boy,
did the other side. And I'm like, they're lying. They're fucking lying.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Continue, but please continue with caution because I get triggered very easily.
Proceed with reverence. Fucker. Yes. That's all I have to say about Big Bang Theory now. I'll cut out the next. I'll cut out the next section. So,
young Sheldon.
The campaign for North Africa is a war game like no other. Literally, no other game is. It should have a category all of its own. It probably unofficially does. So
yeah.
Does
why am I doing this to myself count as a category?
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Not that I think anyone. Yeah. Anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Just wait. just hold your jump back on your horse for a sec, but don't tell it to go anywhere. Tell it to heel like a good horse. So the map area of this game, which is, by the way, 5 full-sized maps.
Yeah.
So I don't know what size a map is, but it's 5 of them. I think it's like
6x4.
Nah, yeah. So it's massive. It's quite. It's 5 of them. It's repeated actually in a lot of other North Africa games, but this one is different. This one's very different. So the game is detailed to a degree no other game has even entered the same stratosphere of.
Okay.
If using the full rules, you keep track of every individual plane and pilot in the 3-year-long campaign.
Wow.
Each counter on the board represents a ground unit, and that's composed of many units, which are kept track of in these logs, which are these big A3 sheets of just blank squares and boxes to fill in information about every individual unit within that unit, so to speak.
Yeah.
Supplies are kept track of and dispersed among your units in an insanely detailed manner. Like, this game exists within these logs that you keep. So, and again, the campaign spans 3 years. So you're keeping logs for these, for a pilot and a plane married together, and they might die. You might keep that log you might be writing paragraphs, and then they die, and you just throw that to the side. But don't worry, you've got another 200 things to keep tabs on. From the rule book, it says CNA, which, by the way, is what I'll abbreviate it to from now on. Campaign for North Africa. CNA.
Okay,
is a logistically oriented game, and its play requires not only a lot of attention to logistics, but, if you will, a logistically sound methodology. Mm-hmm. So when you said previously about tactics that logistics is war, this game takes that to the nth degree.
Of course,
Now, this is the best part about the game, and this is why I want to play this game, but it itself knows that you cannot play it. But picture this, right? So let's ignore that it takes 5 to 8 weeks or 40 days or whatever. The game suggests that you have 5 players per side with the following duties. So you've got your commander-in-chief, who's responsible for strategic decisions and to settle intra-team disputes. Mm-hmm. So effectively the captain of the team.
Yep.
And actually probably the most ambiguous role of all of them.
Yeah.
You've got your logistics commander, who's in charge of all supplies. They accept supply requisitions from the others and keeps all informed of supply shortages. They're in charge of supply dumps, third line trucks, and some second line trucks, and is in charge of naval convoys. So basically all things logistics past the front line, basically.
Yeah.
You've got your rear area commander, which I think I would consider myself a bit of a rear area commander. Say what you will.
Commanding the rear. Yeah,
exactly. The rear area. They get the supplies to the front. They're in charge of security, reserves, prisoners, and construction.
Okay, nice.
You got your air commander, who's in charge of all planes and pilots and responsible for planning air missions and deployment of air bases. And finally, you have your frontline commander, who executes all attacks and troop movements in the front line. And they help coordinate with the defensive efforts. So 5 people, each with their own carved out role, which the role you have itself is so broad in what you need to do and the logs you need to keep. So 10 people with pages of logs in front of them. And now the playing time with 10 players is listed at 1,200 hours.
Oof.
This means that to finish this game within a year, you would need to play every single night with all 10 players for 3.5 hours.
It's impossible.
Yeah. So if you decided, let's be conservative, let's be real for a second, we're all adults, getting 10 of us every single night, like you said, that's impossible. But
I'd say once a week,
Let's say once a week, we could meet up, we'll put in a big slog, maybe we'll make it a Friday night, 6 p.m.
Do 5 hours or something.
Let's do 6 hours.
Yeah, 6 hours.
I use 6 hours for my maths. It's Friday night. We can play till 1 a.m. Who gives a hoot?
Yeah, we ain't got school on Saturday.
We grown men. We do what we want. And we want to play.
Just tell us to come out.
I can't make it this week. I've got to get up early to mow the lawns or some shit.
But like a second 2-year-old birthday.
I gotta get it. So my wife's got this thing on. I gotta iron my shirt or some shit. I don't know. But let's pretend you could get 10 players for every Friday night to meet up for 6 hours. It would take you 4 years.
Wow. You know what though? I still think there's D&D campaigns that are longer than that.
I agree. The D&D campaigns absolutely are, but you're getting a handful of people, and if one drops a session, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You're not talking about 10 people with the tables full of logs. D&D
is like 5 people, you know?
Yeah, tops. So
instantly it's 50% more possible.
Yeah. Yep. And it's fluid and it's creative. This is a war simulation. Your frontline commander doesn't turn up. I mean, you're having a bad time.
Or the dude in charge of logistics, chucks a sticky. It's like,
sorry guys, can't make it this week. You're just gonna have to do without supplies. Excuse me.
You better hope your tanks have got enough petrol or diesel because you're in trouble.
Legit.
Yeah.
So I mean it begs the question: has anyone played and finished this game? I expect the answer is a resounding no. Surely not.
Negative. Even the dude that wrote this game probably didn't.
It's funny you should say that. Some facts about this game, just quickly while I finished. Yep. The game might be considered a meme or even an art piece. It's largely unplayable due to the size and scale of the bookkeeping. In fact, the rule book itself several times states that it's unplayable, which is amazing. And so this is why people think it might be a commentary of extrapolating war games to their true simulated sense, because you take that into account that the war game, the rule book itself says it's unplayable almost with the self-awareness. But here's some further context. It was created by Richard Berg, who's a prolific war game designer and also a recipient of the Charles S. Roberts Award.
Okay.
Which
for this game? Or for a different game?
For his catalog and what he did.
Okay.
But this game was at the time revolutionary because of its size. Like it existed in everyone knew it because of its implications on the wargaming scene. Like, is this a standard or is this just So so this game was made in 1979 and he won the award in 1987. So I think he probably had done a fair bit since then. This game might have been what launched him.
You know, he probably finished two campaigns in those 8 years.
He definitely didn't, because the game itself. So he was just a member of the team. Yeah. He was originally just on the team for map design.
Okay.
Which is obviously a very small part of the game. To make a map of North Africa. Well, I mean, like,
5 maps.
North Africa is quite known, you know? It's not like you have to design a map from scratch. Just, just go get the 1979 equivalent of Google Maps and print that shit on 5.
It's an atlas.
Blow it up. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The jacaranda, my boy. So after 6 months of development, all other developers had left the project.
They're all like, fuck this, I'm out.
Yep. And our boy Dick Berg, which I think is a hilarious name. I mean, his name's Richard Berg or whatever, but it's Dick Berg.
It's Dick Berg.
He finished it on his own, and a lot of it wasn't even play tested, obviously, due to the nature of the game. Like, what are you going to delay the game by 1,200 hours?
Yeah.
Because you're play testing? Like, more. That's for one playthrough with 10 people.
Yeah.
How are you going to organize that, you know? So I think you can imagine someone brought on to design a map who then had everyone else leave, and it's this massive game.
You say that he had everyone else leave. Did they leave because of him, or just because this game was just too much?
It doesn't say.
Okay.
It doesn't say. But anyways, you can imagine as him, you're just like, what, you think I'm going to do this on my own? Like,
yeah.
What the fuck out of here? So that's why people think that, in conjunction with the rule book saying it's unplayable due to the almost the comical level of detail it's gone into.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it could never have expected this game to have been finished. So maybe it's a commentary, a meme, an art piece. Who knows? But suffice to say, it is the most complex, the most meticulously detailed simulation, the longest playtime of any game. It is a behemoth and stands within its own category.
Yeah.
And I loved that I researched a game that somehow tied in with my first one, with the guy that made it winning the award named after the person who made the first one, which is cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unplanned, I promise.
Yeah. Nice.
So that's it. That's the campaign for North Africa, a Desert War, 1940 to 1943. Apparently there's little campaigns that are shorter within it that you can play. That gives you but oh man, I would love to just give it a crack, but I think a couple weekends a year, you could give it 2-3 weekends a year where you just played for 20 hours like a lamb.
But dude, like, how long does setting it up take? It probably takes 20 hours to start with.
Buy a storage unit. all 10 of you chipping in on a storage unit. Just go in there.
Just go in there 2 times a year to fucking play this game.
Yep. Turn on the little dim lamp. Have a couple of beverages there. Hell yeah, man. Yeah. No one's going to know.
Landlord's probably like, no one's ever there, so they're obviously doing something illegal, but they're paying rent, so we'll just leave them.
Yeah. Twice a year, 10 dudes show up and they shut that door and they're gone for 10 hours.
And it smells terrible when they're done. Who knows what they're doing in there?
There's a lot of shouting and yelling, and I don't like it. I don't like it. A lot of full thrusting. Yeah. So the campaign for North Africa, don't ever touch it. But let me know if you've played or even have some insights into any of the games you hear us talking about. Tactics, the campaign for North Africa, whatever that shit Shane was talking about, full thrust or something. Let us know in the comments. Get in there. Get your fingertips wagging, or jump in the Discord. Let us know. We're interested if you have even heard of these. Yeah, hell yeah. What do you got for me, man? What's your... Dude, my last one is nothing compared to that. Okay. It is a minuscule little thing that I could barely find anything on. And I think the fact that I could barely find anything on was appealing to me, because this game kind of like almost
lives in legend in a way,
Oh.
like just couldn't find, like I found bits and pieces and then nothing. So before we get stuck into my last game for tonight, I have a couple of honorable mentions I would like to address.
Yes.
I found some sweet old games while digging through the archives looking for these tonight. The first one I found was called Battle Zones: Scenarios for Ultra Modern Combat. The interesting...
What a name.
Oh, man, I know. How good. This was written in 1984, and this game was written by the writer for my last game, which we'll get to very soon. Okay. Another one was called the 1879 Zulu War, which was written in 1982, which, of course, is Zulu being Africans, I believe. Okay. Yeah, so like a ancient sort of, tribal combat, which I think would be pretty cool.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
How did you find these games? What were you searching for at the time?
I was just Googling like a fiend, and I was typing in like
you were just hitting up that.
Yeah. Oh, my fingers were like, I could see smoke coming off, and I was Googling that hard. I was looking for I was typing like old war games and like early war games and like first war game. I was just trying all these different like keywords to try and find the best stuff.
I like that you found you're building suspense for your last game because you found all these ones that you were like, it's not quite as good as this other one. Not worth the
suspense, dude. These games are probably better than the last one. I just found them later.
What you're saying is these are your regrets that you wish you had.
I wish I had covered. Yep. This one in particular, this one's called Trench. It was written in 1975. It's a World War I land combat game, and it's at two scales. So it's at divisional, which is like where one model or one figure represents 40 men, or trench raid, where each model represents a single man. And it covers things like trench runners, field telephones, landmines, gas attacks, artillery, and heaps of other shit, right?
This game is you.
I know.
Dude. Why didn't you do this time?
I know. Maybe another time.
Yeah, okay. All right. On our next
one. And the last one of the earliest war games I could find, was written by H.G. Wells, who is the author of the well-known story, The War of the Worlds. He wrote this game the rules for this game in 1913.
Wow.
Yeah. It was fairly simplistic. Like, it was designed for kids, but it had basic rules for like infantry, cavalry, and artillery. And it features the first use of the term melee as a gaming concept. Before melee, hand-to-hand combats were referred to as hand fights. So,
honestly, if I'm leveling with you, coming to you as a man bearing all, I like hand fights better. And I think this game has had a negative effect on the wargaming community at large.
True.
I would love to be playing 40k and be like, all right, we're into the hand fight phase.
Oh, we can make it happen. It's a house rule now.
How good is that unit in hand fight?
It's a 4+.
Yeah, it's got a 4+ hand fighting ability.
Exactly, dude.
Yeah.
So my game is called Corpse Commander. And not like undead necromancer. I mean corpse as in army corps.
Right.
Yeah, core commander.
Core commander. That makes sense. You're not a necromancer.
No,
okay.
No.
Good. Although, unless.
People listening, like not watching the video, and like, what's happening? It's gone quiet.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
JK.
Unless
necromunda. I mean, necromancer. Anyways, keep going.
This game was released in 1986. It had supplements and erratas being released shortly after, around that 1988 sort of mark. It wasn't around for very long, only a few years, in fact. And sadly, its creator, Bruce Ray Taylor, died in 1989. So he created this game, and 3 years later, he unfortunately passed away. So,
do you know what day he passed away on?
That may have been a thing, but I didn't take note.
May have been. Actually, no, it was a thing. He did pass away on a particular day.
Are you hoping it was your birthday?
Like a little bit, yeah. What was his name again?
Bruce Ray, R-E-A, Taylor.
Oh, R-E-A.
Yeah. It's like hyphenated, Ray Taylor. Yeah.
Okay. I typed in his name and all that came up was Corpse Commander. August 19th. Oh, wow. So, yeah. So that's probably why the game itself died, because...
Are you going to let me finish my game, or are you taking over?
So, Corpse Commander, The Road to Berlin is a micro...
Shut up!
No, you go. No, yeah, I guess you can do it. Yeah, that's fine.
So, Corps Commander Road to Berlin is a... No, it is micro. It uses 1/300 scale miniatures, or 5 mil. You know, we refer to things as 28, 32, 5 mil scale.
Sure.
And where 10 centimeters, or approximately 4 inches, equals 1 kilometer. So you imagine moving your troops in 5 parsecs, for instance. Most people move 4 inches, right? That's the equivalent of a kilometer in this game. So it is tiny. It's fucking tiny.
I can't even fathom what. How do you even
I don't know.
print or make things at that scale?
I don't know.
5 mil.
I don't even know.
Can we get it?
Maybe. I looked for it. I can't find books. I found one website selling a secondhand book from first printed in 1986. It said out of stock, so I guess they sold it.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, probably in 1988.
Yeah, it breaks its turns up into actual time. So like your first turn, a daytime turn represents 1 hour of actual time, and a nighttime turn represents 2 hours of actual time. So I kind of like the idea after the, let's say the 10th turn, it's now nighttime. So like. Yeah, which is cool. Like I love the whole daytime, nighttime. I don't know how much it affects the playability or the actual gameplay, like night combat. But I love the idea of night combat. Like I think that's really cool.
Yeah,
yeah,
that is interesting.
Yeah. So
I'm still.
What was that?
Sorry, I'm still just blown away by the scale.
Yeah,
like 5 millimeter. Anyway, sorry. I keep going. By the way, he died on the 3rd of March.
Okay.
Yeah. There's actually so little known about him. He died at 40 years old. Anyways, sorry. Carry on. It's your game. Hey, man, it's your game. I didn't bring it up.
I should have told you his name was R.A.Y. Taylor, and then you would have found him.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So
R.A. what are you saying?
The game was built around mechanized infantry combat and tanks, and it also featured like airplanes, artillery batteries, engineers, and logistics, which is really cool. And it was aimed sort of at the road to Berlin was the last 2 years of World War II. Bruce also created rules for what he called Corps Commander Operational Maneuver Group, which was sort of a Cold War gone hot modern combat. When I say modern, I mean 1986 modern, So,
Totally.
They still didn't like the Ruskies. And that was to be played on like any sort of European front. And that had game sizes from like 8 foot by 6 foot, massive tables. Down to like a scenario of like a helicopter assaulting a vital bridge or something, which would be play on like a 2x2, like a small scale.
Okay. Very cool.
So
how I'm just envisioning an 8 foot by 6 foot. You wouldn't be able to reach into the middle.
Not well. Imagine 2 6x4s put together side by like that'll get you 8x6. Sorry,
that's like imagine playing on a 6x4 and trying to reach over to your opponent's deployment and touch the edge of it.
You could.
That's the middle of a 6x8.
Well, you know what? You could do that, but this game there wouldn't be terrain that's standing a foot high. The terrain's going to be micro, if anything. So I feel like you might be able to reach it easier. I don't know. We'll have to try it.
You got to use one of those.
The sticks that they use.
The military commander.
Exactly.
Immersive.
Yeah. So, again, a similar question at the end, or similar point at the end of the last game was why it died, or what it looks like today. And I'd say, unfortunately, the game died because Bruce did. Who knows where he would have gone with it, what he would have done with it had he have continued living. I imagine it's probably got a small
The coward.
It's probably got a small niche of players somewhere. Surely someone's playing this game, like one of Bruce's mates
sure.
or the local club he used to play at or something like that. But just couldn't.
Yeah.
So all I could find was as half a dozen Wikipedia articles, a couple of websites selling the book. And that was about it. Like there was just so little on this game, which is sort of what intrigued me, and also the scale. Like when I was looking at that, I'm like 1/300. I'm just like, fuck, that's tiny, absolutely tiny.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's nutty. Yeah. He only lived for 40 years.
He was a young boy.
He was a young lad. Absolutely, his occupation. It's funny. All these games came out of the UK, which is it's such an interesting thing for all the war games to, all the historical war games to really come out of there.
Yeah.
That feels like a deep dive.
Hell yeah.
I want to know more about that.
True. So,
but
that's
awesome, man. What made you pick that game? Was it just the sheer scale?
I think so.
The fact that it was but a murmur in the history.
Pretty much just a blink on the old radar, It makes you wonder how many games that are out there that have seen the same sort of thing. Like they've just been a quick flicker and then they burned out or whatever. So yeah.
And I found a common theme among the games I was looking at were A, they all came out of the UK. That's where wargaming was born. And B, if that game had have been created now, it would have gone off.
Oh yeah.
For so many of them. Yeah. And it was like all these games that sort of came out between 1960 and 1990 were just in the wrong era.
Yeah.
And maybe it's the internet, the accessibility of knowing these games exist, postage, international, like any of these games would have had a scene today.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And they would have been infinitely more successful.
Absolutely.
In fact, so many games that I saw failed. And I'm like, how? The game sounds awesome. Yeah. The theme, the unique mechanics.
It just didn't have...
And you're telling me you
didn't have the exposure. Yeah.
You only sold 2,000 copies of such a historical game originally. Yeah. It blows my mind. Yeah. So we're in a good era for wargaming. That's for sure.
Yeah, we're lucky. We are very lucky. I spoke to Viv from Knights of Dice today. As of this coming out, he's finished up the 24-hour Pay-to-thon challenge. And we were talking about our sort of journey in wargaming, and we both mentioned the fact that we're so lucky nowadays to have the internet and being able to just look anything up whenever we need to learn something. And like he mentioned, when he started, all he had was like White Dwarf. So all he knew, he could learn was from White Dwarf and like maybe his mates or someone at the local hobby shop. So we're lucky.
Even if you deleted the internet, you'd still be able to go into a local store, like a local Games Workshop, and buy your stuff and talk about the stuff to the manager and get hooked up with the community. It wasn't like that back then. The communities weren't in every single town.
No.
And the stores weren't either. Yeah. So all these games, I saw them open the box and the very first thing on it was like how to order stuff from our company. Yeah. It was like fucking ordering books from Book Week in primary school. You like circle the stuff you wanted.
Yeah, and you post it back with like money in there or a check or something.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
And then they'd send it to you. Yeah. You'd be waiting for weeks and then it would show up. And,
they do a runner with my $20. It's like, nah, here it is. That's it. Here's what you ordered.
That's it. Yeah. And like, what if you didn't, it was like Kickstarter. You didn't know if it was a reputable company, unless your mate told you about it and he got his stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well,
that's crazy.
Yeah, that's a bit of a dig through the archives from what we were calling old school war games. Obviously, a lot of people in the wargaming hobby are a lot older than these ones, except for maybe H.G. Wells' Little Wars. If you're still into wargaming and you were born before that, congratulations.
Well done. You've outlived Bruce Wayne Taylor.
Oh, Jesus. Too soon? Nah.
Is it? I don't know.
It's 30 fucking years ago,
Probably
25 years ago.
Yeah.
So
That's crazy. He'd only be like 65 then today.
True.
That's wild.
True.
Rest in peace, Bruce.
Yeah. Well,
Old Sprucington.
thanks for listening, guys. That was a bit of an interesting one for us. And
Yeah. Hopefully you enjoyed us opening this time capsule for you. Hopefully you found a couple of nuggets of interesting history. I know I did. I frothed it.
Yeah.
I frothed
Hell
it.
yeah.
Listen, I'm so curious. I want to do this one. We can't do it next week.
No,
We've
got plans.
But I would love to do a part 2 of this because there's so many incredible games.
We'll do it.
We'll
do it sooner or later.
We'll do it. Yeah.
True.
Yeah. Like Shane said earlier, if you liked this, like it, you know, try and find some way of telling us you liked it, because otherwise we don't know. We'll just release stuff and hope someone hears it.
And if you think your mates will like it too, like let them know. That helps us growing our audience and our listener base. Helps us develop more and keep doing more cool shit.
Yeah, and jump in the Discord, because they say Disneyland is the happiest place on earth, but that's a lie. It's a literal hell.
Yeah,
it's a cesspool of everything that's wrong with the world.
Exactly.
Unlike our Discord, which is phenomenal.
Yeah.
So that's actually the happiest place on earth. So jump in there.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
And thank you always to our most, what would you call it? We're humbled by our patrons.
Oh, of course.
And all the incredible stuff. Like, you guys support us. Every single one on this list supports us. They jump in the Discord. They're active there. They like our Facebook posts. They tell us that episode was shit. And we're like, I know, man. I know.
Yeah.
We're hobby homies. What can we do?
And you know what, dude? I can actually say this because they would have seen Beers and Banter before this, but we had one of our homies join us.
We did. Yeah, that's it. We had Moosington himself join us on our Beers and Banter.
Does not go by the name Adam. Don't call him Adam. Moosington.
Who's
Adam?
I
don't know why you're asking me, dude. I don't know who the fuck Adam is.
Why'd you bring it up?
You brought it up.
Anyways, our patrons, you're incredible. The many ways you support us financially is the way that allows us to do all this, especially this at-home stuff. But looking at the studio, I was reminiscing about what we, being in Churchy's site office.
Oh, man.
With the water falling on our heads.
Break the immersion, dude.
Sure.
People got headcanon, all right, and we can't break that.
We've gone from something that was not what it is now to what it is now, and that's because of our patrons.
Yes. Massive thank you to our patrons. We've got Burnsy, Whack, Final Dinosaur, Joey P, Lockie, MJ, Lethal, Moose, and Penny.
You son of a... We got Alco, Arkham, Dave, Churchy, Rad, Oliver, Hockers, who I believe is, a few nights ago was sipping on a juicy Hopmosphere, as per my recommendation. You're welcome, Hockers. We've got Aggro and Gritty. Thank you all so much. You're incredible. We can't do this without you. We mean that from the bottom of our hearts, and we're out of here.
All right, hooroo.